Today we're talking cage tags. I'll tell you what I use, where I get them, and some easy ways to come up with some codes and things that make it easy to know information at a glance. So first of all, you can see that every cage in here has a tag that has some basic general information, but let's talk about the tags themselves. I get a lot of questions about these, where I get the tags. So they're just these plastic tags. They're reusable. I get them off Amazon. They come in a package of 60. I've recently noticed that they also now offer a package of 120. They usually come with 3 or 4 different colors in them. You could kind of color code with them depending on how many cages you have. I did in the beginning, but then I kind of had more cages than I had colors, so I kind of scrapped that idea for the most part. And, there's a little bit of color coding going on, but that's really not the big deal, neither here nor there. So don't focus so much on that. But again, they come, this package, 60 of them, I think it was $13. And I've bought 2 packages in 5 years. They stay on the cages for a long time. They're reusable. And movable even. So they zip tie on the cages. You can see how I zip tie right through the back, and then you can loop it into this other little hole here if you want. I usually just nip off the extra. And then when I want to reuse them, I actually use shower hooks. They fit right through here. The first time I'll use the zip tie, but then, if I need to move this cage or this tag needs to go to a different cage with another rabbit, or with this rabbit, I'll cut it off. These fit right through here, and it works great. Sometimes if I have a rabbit that really likes to chew, like this lady right here, I just cut those zip tie tops off completely and go straight to the shower ring, because they can't chew these, and with that they have a hard time getting this tag in the cage. You can see that some of them are pretty crafty and do chew around the edges. It's minor, they're cheap, easy to replace, but again, you get those shower curtain rings on them and it works pretty good. I don't recommend the kind with the knobs on them. Get the cheapest, smoothest ones you can find, because they just sit and they fit better. So when I use them, frequently I'll have information on there that either needs to be added, or, these guys here, they're grow outs that are going to get harvested. So I'll still use this tag. I'll just clean it off and then I'll put the new information in next time. I use Sharpie markers for anything that I want to be pretty permanent, like the cage number. And then I'll use dry erase for the stuff that I want to be able to take off. And they're easy to take off with a little bit of alcohol on a rag or on a cotton ball. Excuse me. Or these nice little alcohol prep pads. These are cheap too, easy to keep around in the rabbitry, kind of nice to have on hand if you ended up with a wound or whatever. So those are good too. And that wipes right off. The dry erase, even if it's been on here for a long time, and the dry erase marker, if it stays on a board or the plastic for a long time, it can get kind of permanent on there. It'll still wipe off with the alcohol wipe. And actually, usually the Sharpie does as well, like even if it's been on there a year or 2. So those are the tags and where I get them. I will try and drop a link in the community page. There might even be a link on there to these already, but I'll try to put one in the community page so you'll have it as well. And now we can talk about what kind of information I put on them. So first I do a cage number. Most of the rabbits in here don't get tattooed because most of them are harvest, or they're just breeders who are going to stay here, and I don't do a lot of showing or selling. I may begin some tattooing. It's not something that I do right now, but I may do that because now I've got these champagnes. The champagnes did come with tattoos in their ears, and that identifies them to the pedigrees. I'm also not a person who keeps a lot of pedigrees, but if I have buyers that are asking and interested in that, on these champagnes, I do have that option because I did buy the pedigrees when they came here. just knowing that for the 10 extra bucks, it might be something that I might want in the future, and it gives me their lineage. I don't think pedigrees are a guarantee of good quality rabbits, but they do give you information about their lines and lineage, and then a lot of show people would be looking for those. So the cage numbers are the first things I do, and you can see on these ones, like it's G1 through 20, and G stands for grow out. So those are the animals that are being harvested. Over here, I've got T1, 2, and 3, and those are transition cages. All it means is that a lot of times when I have, when I first wean kits, they'll come over as a group to these transition cages because they're big cages, and they're, those are small rabbits at the time that they come here. These are 5-foot cages, so they fit plenty of them. And then I'll do that for a couple of weeks, and then I'll sex them and sort them down into the grow out cages. Do you have to do that? No, but I've got the space. It works for me. It also helps me keep a good cycle of kits from like weanlings, keep the breeding going, and then get them into grow out cages until harvest. You can see that sometimes if I don't need the space, sometimes we'll get a couple lucky ones like these guys that get the cage all to themselves just because they were already in here when I separated them. That's the way it went for them. So T1, 2, and 3 is the transition cage. Doesn't mean much more than the grow out cage code, but it just kind of identifies the cage. And then when I fill out that weight tracker, I can use the cages to identify the individual rabbits. Now on the breeders, I tend to keep a little more information. You can see here we've got Toussaint. These tags a little messy, but that's all right. We're in a barn. Like to keep their month and year that they were born, because then if I'm going through here, without going back to all my paper records, I can easily see their age. Think about, if we've got an issue, whether that might be related to age or whatever. BHA is where they came from, BHA Rabbitry. That's where I bought them from, the name. And then sometimes I'll put something on like these guys, I was waiting for them to grow out and be old enough to breed. So I'd put their 20 and 24 week old age when they were going to hit it, so I would know when I could breed them. And then at the bottom, this is YV5. That is Toussaint's tattoo number. So on those that do have a tattoo, like here's Sunny, he's XW9, I put that on there just because Champagnes look a lot alike, and sometimes, if they get in there and the does actually mount the bucks and stuff, sometimes you got to look twice, make sure you're putting the right animal back in the right cage. And that's a good, quick, easy way for me to compare the tattoo number to the rabbit, make sure everyone's back in their right home. It's not something, don't really have to usually do it too much, but it's there. Why not put it on? Gives me that information. So that's, similar information that I keep on the does and the bucks. And, again, these cage tags will stay here for years as long as they're here. Once in a while, you'll get some that got some urine overflow, like Tippy's here, that needs to be replaced, but it's no big shakes. So the cage codes, the different codes that I use. If we look at this, this is a litter code, and this is YS2. And what this stands for is first the doe's initial, the buck's first initial, and then the litter, the number of litters that doe has had, and that is lifetime number. So it's not the number of litters that she has had with this buck, it is the total number of litters she's had. So this is Yarrow, who is over here, Sunny, who's one of the Champagnes, and then it's Yarrow's second litter. Why does that matter? It just makes it really easy at a glance for me to look at anybody and know who the parents were. And then that helps to make decisions about who I might want to keep. So for instance, if I'm trying to say, keep a doe that I want to know in the future can breed with Toussaint without being related, without mixing any of those genetics, I know that I can keep this doe because she's PS1, which means she came from Peony and Sunny, and it was Peony's first litter. And then there's no T in that, so I know that she's not related to Tucson. Now, I know line breeding, I get it. Line breeding with rabbits is a thing. I definitely support the, breed the best to the best and forget about the rest. That's a different conversation that I'm having. But I also, want to know what the genetics are behind. Also want to know because I want to know if the parents' genetics, these will be coming from breeders that I've had experience with, and I want to make decisions based not only on this individual but on their lineage. And this is a good, quick, at a glance way to do it. So again, all of this is information. It's backed up in my records. I took a lot of the clipboards in to catch up on a little bit of the recording, so I don't have them in here to show you, but we've seen those in other videos. But all of that information is somewhere else. But this is a way when I'm walking through and I want to know, who's who, how old everybody is. I can do it at a glance. So, I can look at one of those litter numbers like a PS1 and then come over to my calendar and find out, when they were born, how old they are. Like we can see here, YS2, this is when they were born, December 18th. So it's here, but it's also on those other clipboards with litter records. And again, just a good, easy way to keep track without spending a lot of money, without spending a lot of time tattooing animals that are only going to live for a few months because they're grow outs. Like, I'm not going to go through that for those. The only ones that would be worth tattooing and things like that would be any like breeders that I might keep or sell. So that's the word on the cage tags. If you have more questions about those or my little system for naming or coding the litters in the cages, throw it in the comments. Be happy to answer those. Again, like, share, subscribe. Come on over to meetrabbits.org. See the articles and information there. All of this information is laid out if you wanted to read through it again or get a little more visual idea of how I'm running these things. That's all over there too. Pop on over there and check those out. So thanks for being here, and we will see you next time.